Labor history is a massive topic, and you could take a dozen courses to cover all facets of it, and it's not something that we want to become expert in, but it does very much help us understand modern management to frame the origins of management thinking and starting to understand what the problems that management was intended to solve. If we think about it, what we're going to see are a collection of three videos. I mean, it was really not more than a century ago where after hundreds of years of practice, I mean, we kind of evolved from having slave labor, small owner-operated businesses. We had, several hundred years where people worked for hire, but they always worked for the owner, usually side by side with the owner, whether it was a blacksmith shop or a neighborhood store. It was a very personalized form of management. It was based on interpersonal relationships. It was embedded in the community in which people worked. And with the rapid industrialization in the United States, we suddenly had these very large-scale enterprises. We had massive steel firms, massive railroads, big banks, and this happened in terms of historic time very suddenly. I mean, this evolved over, it happened, and these are emerging over about a 40-year period. Historians usually talk about 1880 to 1920 as the period of industrialization, massive industrialization in the United States. And so suddenly we were no longer friends, we're no longer in the same community as people. And now, how do we run our enterprise? How does supervision and management work? There actually was really not even a real concept for management. Management was a very new idea. So the depersonalization of work relationships had a profound impact on how firms were run, and that's of great interest to us. And there was a real struggle to come up with, okay, where's management? Management, the idea of it had not existed. There were people who owned the firm. There were supervisors very often kind of in shops. But this notion of a management hierarchy and management structure was something that was literally had to be invented. And then it even got more profoundly difficult when we suddenly have owners who are not even co-located, that they're now managing at a distance. They have very large scale enterprise. There are enormous problems in figuring out how to do accounting and whether they're making profits or not. There was no good measurement system for financial performance. And so in the midst of all of this enormous economic wealth creation, very successful enterprises, but how do we run those enterprises? What I'd like you to look for in this set of videos is first, what's happening, or there's a real escalation of human cost, including injuries and death, that accompanied this industry, this expansion, these very large scale enterprises. We have a very important thing that's happening in this period is we're having massive immigration, and how people deal with immigrants and how they think of immigrants and how they characterize immigrants comes to justify some of the labor practices. It's an important element here. And then you'll also see this very human response when the horrors of some of these workplaces are revealed. And this includes a human response where there's a role of the press and social outrage over how people are being treated. In the midst of this, as we're going to study, scientific management was a set of ideas that came to the fore. There was this notion of the fair wage. This actually was kind of the first time people were thinking very specifically about management and incentivizing people using wages as incentive. This ultimately too failed. It addressed in the short term some of the labor problems that occurred, and these are labor problems with a great deal of violence, well beyond what we've ever been exposed to. But scientific management itself basically contained its own internal contradiction that led to its failure. And we're going to see some of that in this labor history. which focuses on the specifics of the Ludlow Massacre, and then Henry Ford's River Rouge plant.